After a lengthy summer break, the Michelin Le Mans Cup is emerging from a mid-year hibernation because we're about to get cracking with 3 rounds to end the season for the Le Mans Cup here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in the heart of the Ardennes forest. And then in a month's time, we'll be at a new venue in Mugello before heading to Portimao at the end of the year. So they're going to come thick and fast, these races. And of course, there are championships to decide as well. Yes, you could argue that certain projects or certain narratives are being constructed already, but there's still plenty of points on offer, and we need to deal with who's going to be getting 25 in both LMP3 and the GT3 categories this weekend in Belgium. Delighted you can join us for this double qualifying session then, with a race to come later on today. So mark your card for this afternoon, just around 4 o'clock. It's the famous 7,003 metres of Spa-Francorchamps with its 19 corners and massive gradient change as well, not least in those first sequence of corners, out of La Source, down to Eau Rouge, up over Radillon, and then down the Kemmel Straight. So many of these corners trip off the tongue. And it's Johnny Palmer and Graham Goodwin as usual. It's been a while since we've done the Michelin Le Mans Cup because they didn't appear in Imola, of course.
It's good to be back, isn't it, really? So after the Road to Le Mans races back in June, the 2 sprint races, back to the regular format of 1 hour and 50-minute racing we'll see later this afternoon. But before that, Johnny Palmer, we get to enjoy 2 quick-fire qualifying sessions, one for the GT3 cars and one for the vast array of LMP3 machinery. There are a couple of changes to brief you on. Here's one of them, the black and gold car in front of shot. Herbeth Motorsport, welcome back to the Michelin Le Mans Cup for them. They, I'm told, intend to be here for the remainder of the season. So that's good news that we add the number 92 car.
And great conditions here. Later on this evening, the weather doesn't look too pretty at all because there is a thunderstorm on the way, but that is because temperatures have been escalating throughout the course of this morning. It is still the morning for another 7.5 minutes or so. And yeah, today, Saturday, is going to be the hottest of the 3 days of this race meeting. Thankfully, it does appear that all of that bad weather, the heavy rain, will clear in time for tomorrow's European Le Mans Series race. I was slightly concerned that the Le Mans Cup race, though, would be in the middle of the downpour, but it looks like it's going to be well after that at about 8 o'clock this evening. Slightly earlier finish to the day, as we've become used to from earlier on in the season. Will be done by 6 p.m. if everything goes to plan. And sometimes Spa can be the scene of the odd red flag, shall we say, the odd stoppage here and there. So that's not all set in stone.
But it is a 6 o'clock curfew, I think, on a Saturday here.
Is it?
I think so.
Well, that would make sense that we're done at 5:02.
Yep, first to the pit exit is the number 24 car, Stella Motorsports Audi, the R8 LMS Evo 2, Biogas Motorsport from Spain, and then number 23 Ferrari is there. Rolling down towards pit out, just spotted, I think, the Blackthorn Aston Martin, one of the only one of what was proposed to be 2 here. And again there, a change in driver. We'll bring a little bit of news about that, because we did have one of their supposed regular drivers for this season hurt in other racing a few days ago. So
is that Scotch DePola?
No, this is David McDonald.
Oh, beg pardon. Right.
From the Blackthorn side. Yes. And David actually was in contact with me yesterday evening. The 91 car, not racing this weekend, broke his back in an F3 testing incident over an exit curb. Thankfully, he tells us who his replacement is. Doreen Turner.
Doreen? Is that what this driver prefers? I mean, I've never heard of him.
I've never heard of him.
Doreen Turner.
Never heard of him. Anyway, David says he's going to be hoping to be back from Mugello. Just thought he'd let us know. Well, grateful to hear from you. Hope that it's not too painful. That's a nasty injury, and by the sound of the recovery track, it's a fracture rather than a break. So I'm hoping that's the case, David. And we'll see you. We hope, and what we expect will be sunny Mugello, another new track for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Looking forward to that in Tuscany. This is the overview as we get the green flag at the end of pit lane, and it will be 11 cars, Johnny Palmer, taking to the track.
Yeah, and I'll glance into free practice in a moment or two, just to mark your card for later on. We'll be on air local time, 3:45 this afternoon for a 4:05 start to the latest round of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and they are an hour and 50 minutes these days. Slightly odd, not a round figure, because it developed after the new LMP3 engines were brought into the equation. They couldn't quite stretch them on the fuel to make the full 2 hours, so we've had an hour and 50-minute race ever since then. We do, though, have on site this weekend 3 of the new 4 LMP3 cars on display. I haven't had a chance to go and look at them up close, but Odessa here.
Odessa here, the new Ligier is here, and the new Duquesne is here. Ginetta have opted to carry on testing. There's been some issues around the initial reliability of some of the development engines, so Ginetta are choosing to put mileage on their car, but 4 chassis available with the new Orica-built powertrain, but it's a Toyota-derived turbo V6 to come, so relish the V8 sounds of the Nissan engine for this year, at this level at least. But 28 LMP3s to the current specification we'll be seeing later, but right now it's a very mixed bag indeed of 11 GT3 cars. It's Frederick, as you say, is on track in the number 12 Kessel Racing car, one of 2 Ferrari 296 GT3s from the Swiss team. Nick Jones is in the high-class racing run Porsche 911 GT3R, the Type 992 car, the number 18 car. We saw the Biogas Motorsport Ferrari. That is Giuseppe Miola Camadera aboard that car. Stella Motorsports car is in the hands of ex-United Autosports LMP3 racer Andrew Bentley. There's another interesting addition to that team we'll talk about a little later. AF Courses 51 in the hands of Matthew Kujaski. Jörg Driesau in the Proton Huber competition Porsche, the number 73 car. That's the very attractively liveried orange and blue car. 74 from Kessel, their second car in the hands of Andrew Gilbert. We're waiting to see who is going to bring the Iron Dames car out, the 83 car. That is
it has to be Celia, because it's a bronze.
Yeah. AF Courses number 88 car, Castedo Toledo. Claude Brevet in the Blackthorn 91 Aston Martin, and Herberth Motorsports 92 Porsche, as we say, in addition here. That is Scott Noble, and the Iron Dames about to take to the track. Already seen a new addition to the paddock from the Iron Dames early this morning in the first of 2 Ligier European Series races. Martin Garcia, the reigning champion in F1 Academy, joining the Ligier European Series in the JS2R class. This is the second part of the story for this weekend in Michelin Le Mans Cup. The third part of the story has had quite a few chapters, Johnny, because we've not yet seen today the replacement Porsche GT3 that will take part in the European Le Mans Series, hoping that car's be ready for qualifying a little later for ELMS after a huge shunt for Rahel Frey. She's fine. In fact, popped out the booth between sessions and she was standing outside chatting to a couple of young fans, but she's fine, but the car most fundamentally wasn't, and that's been replaced overnight.
Yeah, and still going to be a bit of time before it is ready. But one of the other Iron Dames cars is now on the move. The whole game plan here, surely, was to try and find a bit of track position. But there are actually cars now heading past the pit lane. So is it the case that Celia Martin's still going to be released into some traffic? Winding the clock back many, many weeks, I'm reminding myself about that bizarre old race that we had on the Thursday of Le Mans week, which formed the round of this Michelin Le Mans Cup, when actually leading across the line on the road was Manu Collard in the zebra front, and that was an outright lead as well, but there'd been a red flag, and on countback, sadly for he and Charlie Samani, they were given a 10-second penalty as well. Eventually finished 9th in the GT3 part of that race, and it was won in the end, the Thursday race, by David Fuminelli and Fred Jose, who are here this weekend in the number 12 Ferrari. GT3 in the second race on the Saturday of Le Mans was won by the 90 Blackthorn Aston Martin. We do not have a 90 car here because it's not a full season entry, but we have got the 91 with that driver change. Darren Turner is the... He's a very new name on the block.
Yeah.
Oh, no, he's not, actually. We've all heard of him, but I thought he was past it.
Yeah, in Blackthorn, I mean, investing in young talent. Great to see. Yeah, I should say, by the way, Dazza, and he's very welcome, DT, to this paddock. Has been part of the initial testing programme for the brand new for 2025 Aston Martin Valkyrie LMH, which I think I'm right continues his record of having tested every single Aston Martin race car since they came back to motorsport with the DBR9.
The 74 Kessel Racing car of Andrew Gilbert setting the early pace. We've still got 9.5 minutes of this 12-minute session to go, but it's a 2:23.6 from Andrew Gilbert. Andrew Bentley's done a 2:26.4 in the Stella Motorsport Audi. Here he is at Le Mans corner.
Enjoying himself indeed. You and I had a chat with Andrew yesterday. Great to do so. His teammate, by the way, is another returning star to the Michelin Le Mans Cup, a returning LMS star, James Walker from Jersey, twice runner-up in the European Le Mans Series GTE class back in the day, and certainly did a great job in helping JMW Motorsport to their title in 2012, where he unfortunately was forced to miss a race. But he's back, and this car could be quite a force this weekend, Johnny, in GT3. Stella Motorsport, of course, with a mixed one GT3, one LMP3 car on the order, and the switch as well in the LMP3 driver lineup. We'll talk about that later. But if you are watching Spa-Francorchamps, I hope all is well. Thinking of you, and we hope to see you back in 2025.
As far as the championship is concerned, it is Alessandro Balzan and Matthew Kurzajewski. Kurzajewski's qualifying at the moment in the 51 Ferrari, but they have a 26-point lead. But we're in the realm of half points now because of that Thursday Le Mans race. Remember, a road to Le Mans race is normally roughly half points of a standard Michelin Le Mans Cup race anyway, but because it only ran to just less than half an hour and only 4 laps, then those two races, or sorry, no, the first race off the two only awarded half points anyway. So we've got half points, 0.5 here and there and everywhere, which could make totaling them up at the end of the year rather tricky for you and I.
Andrew Bentley goes to the top of timing and scoring, and an improvement from Andrew Gilbert, not enough to knock him off there. So it is Stella Motorsport's Audi to the top, a 2:19.450. Then Andrew Gilbert in that Kessel number 74 Ferrari, and it is a 5-car Ferrari train after the Audi, with the Kessel 74, the 88 and 51 AF Corsa cars, then the 23 Biogas Motorsport car, and 12 from Kessel Racing, before we get into the rest.
And over the line will go Nick Jones, 7th fastest so far.
That's a track limit affected lap, so no improvement going to be possible for Nick on that lap. But the only car under 2:20 at the moment is that Stella Motorsport entered car. Claude Beauvais gets in amongst the order briefly, goes up to 4th and then drops back to 5th because the Proton Huber competition Porsche just edges the Blackthorn Aston Martin back. It's Jacques Dressau up into 4th. We've got yellow flags at turn 19. I can hear a shriek of tyres. I'm just trying to work out who that might be.
Late on in the lap, as you say, at the bus stop chicane.
I think it's the Kessel Ferrari, the number 12 car.
Okay, yes, so a winner at Le Mans, as mentioned, and it's going to be a red flag. And if that 12 car is judged to have caused the red flag, which it looks like it has, then normally the rule is it won't be able to continue in the session either.
Unlucky, because they clearly got away from the incident site. So that's really bad luck for the number 12 car of Fred Jousset. Fred Jousset has obviously had a moment. Race control deemed that risky enough to call the red flag.
Jousset away from the first race of the Le Mans week, waiting for a first podium of the year in the more standard 1 hour and 50-minute races. Has had a couple of 4th positions, though, with David Firminelli. And it remains to be seen now where they will start the race. Will they have the time strip that they've already done, or do they get to keep those? I'm never quite sure.
It's going to be, it's a call for race control to make. Let's have a look and see what happened here.
Well, this was after the incident, now going the wrong way, and to try and get in the pit lane, presumably. No, okay.
Oh, no, you're right.
No, that was in the wrong direction, and I'm slightly concerned how far he went in the wrong direction. Yeah. But there may have been no other way of turning the car around, because there is a tyre wall right there. The
red flag was because he couldn't recover to the track from there. That's why they brought the red flag, but he did drive the wrong way on the circuit before the red flag.
And we're using the endurance pit lane for this segment of the day. It's my understanding that when we get to the race, normally what happens is everyone decamps from this area, takes the tyre trolleys up to the Grand Prix pit lane, and they do the pit stop that is required in the race in the Grand Prix pit lane. But the secondary entrance into pit lane, or the second pit lane, is in use as it was for the earlier Ligier European Series race. So nobody's going to be turning right at turn 19 to enter the pit lane there. Instead, you do it after La Source.
Clock has stopped, by the way. 6 minutes and 14 seconds remain in this session. We are told it will resume on a short call. That will be almost certainly as soon as all of the cars have returned to pit lane. See Steph Wentworth there on patrol on the pit road. We'll be hearing from her later this afternoon, I'm sure. Warm day to be down there in a fire suit.
Yeah, temperature's certainly in the mid-20s and might even get close to 30 by the end of it. Fastest so far then, Stella Motorsports Audi for Andrew Bentley, and then Andrew Gilbert, who was fastest until just before the red flag, has now dropped to second position in the Kessel Racing number 74 Ferrari.
I think we're getting to the stage where we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cars left to get back to pit road, and then I think we will be rapidly back to green flag action. Stick with us. Plenty of action still to come, not just in this session. LMP3 to follow, of course, and there's a lot of cars in that session. And then pretty soon after that, we get into qualifying action for the European Le Mans Series. Better part of, what is it, 42 cars for the EL and S across their 4 classes: LMP2, LMP2 Pro-Am, LMP3, and of course LM GT3.
Well, assuming we get that Porsche from the Iron Dames, it'll be 43 on my list.
I think you're right. Sorry,
yeah.
It is 43. And then, of course, an hour and 50 minutes of racing from this field later this afternoon.
And when these cars are racing at just after 4 o'clock, it will be the highest temperature of the day, and that'll be 27 degrees Celsius. So you pity those that have been selected for the opening stint. The majority will be bronzes to get their bronze time out of the way as early as possible and hand over to either silver or gold graded drivers to bring it to the finish. But a Le Mans Cup race, Michelin Le Mans Cup race, has so many twists and turns in it traditionally, particularly around a track like this. So you won't want to miss that. And we'll try and keep up the speed with precisely what's going on, but it's a tough job.
I'll read just one thing that we can see on the timing screen, which is the 51 car of Matthew Kozajewski is shown as stopped. I can't see where. He's not shown on pit lane. Car 12 is allowed to rejoin the session. I think that is a good decision.
Yeah.
It was just exactly where he had what was otherwise a harmless spin. I'm just looking if I can see. I think that is the 51 car on pit lane.
I wondered whether there may have been a... Because of the positioning of pit lane in comparison to the start-finish line, sometimes the timing system says I can't find a car because it's actually it thinks stranded somewhere on the track, and in fact it's in the pit lane. But
I think the 51 is the car, it's not the red and yellow car.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. GT3 qualifying session has resumed.
So Corinne Boursier, our race director for the Michelin Le Mans Cup this year.
Well, let's count them back out again. Jörg Dreishoff definitely there, as is Andrew Bentley, fastest so far. Nick Jones. I think that was Custodio Toledo that you were seeing as the red and yellow car, number 88. Red and white, from my memory, for Kozajewski. Oh no, Jose's car's red and white as a Kessel machine.
That's a biogas car.
It is, number 23.
Now, the 51 car has now been shown as out on track.
Yeah.
So all is well, it's just a timing glitch. We'll stop thinking and talking about it now and talk about rapidly progressing race cars. The one car that hasn't left pit lane is the 12. I wonder if they've not got the message they can.
Possibly. Or are they choosing to delay, like they did with Celia Martin's car in the Lamborghini for Iron Dames, and just hold back for track position?
So 2:19.450 is the mark to beat. There's 5 minutes to do that. It is Andrew Bentley aboard the number 24 Stella Motorsport car. Great stuff from him. enjoying his racing, enjoying being back in this paddock. Would be quite the moment for Stella Motorsport with a pole position. Team that came to the Michelin Le Mans Cup on the 12 is rolling, that's great. Came to the Michelin Le Mans Cup on the back of GT4 Championship and the British GT Championship. Expanded their effort with an LMP3 Duquesne this year. And I know are working on potentially very exciting stuff coming into 2025. Watch this space.
Not the ideal scenario to have a red flag, purely because, yes, the clock stops, but you have to still find time for another outlap. So we're already at 4 minutes, and it takes 2.5 or so to get around. But the crucial thing is you've got to start the lap before the clock hits 0, and then
possibly 2 flying laps. Two flying laps.
2 I think you can probably do, but there's not the affordability of messing anything up here. For instance, if you get pinged for track limits, then that's a real disaster, because the pressure is on for your final lap, and that's indeed if you get a final lap. For those joining from the pit lane fairly late on, like Fred Jose, he may only have 1 stab at this, and Celia Martin hasn't even got a time at all.
No.
Yeah.
Away we go then, on to quick laps, and it will for, I think, almost all these cars. The one I'm concerned about may not make a second lap is the number 12 car with that late join to the session, but 2 flying laps will be available for these cars in the remaining 3 minutes. Remember, you're just going to start that lap as the clock elapses time as you cross the line. But the checkered flag will then be shown to any car completing a lap.
It's going to be very tight for Jose, because it'll take about 40 seconds to get back to the start and finish line, and that will leave 2 minutes 20 on the clock. So he might just do it, depending on how quick he can be. Is it better just to concentrate and say, I've got this lap and only this lap, and let's make it count? Here's the co-championship leader, Matthew Kerzhezhevsky, with Alessandro Balzan, who's been sharing this 51 Ferrari all season with. They have a 26-point lead. So very similar to the scenario in the Ligier European Series. Great to have effectively a full maximum in your back pocket as an insurance policy. You get 25 points for a race win, plus a point for a pole position. So they are a long way ahead of Andrew Gilbert, but Gilbert's got some speed in this session in the 74 Kessel car.
Yeah, on target at the moment, both the 74 Kessel and the car we're looking at now to go ahead of the pole-sitting car. Andrew Bentley, meanwhile, has done track limits in both sectors 1 and 2. So this lap will not count, but hoping to launch himself for a final stab at this. Kerzhezhevsky goes second, 0.172 down, so he's the second driver into the 219s, following Andrew Bentley. So it's Stella Motorsport's Audi 24 from the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari now, Johnny.
And a little switch around there, which was Nick Jones, I think, improved. Oh no, Kerzhezhevsky going up to second, yes, and Jones going across the line to net 5th place with a 2:24.0. Here comes Andrew Gilbert, now 3rd fastest. Celia Martin goes 3rd in the number 83 Iron Dames Lamborghini. So she left it pretty late to post any time at all, but the time is very good.
It is indeed. Kerzhezhevsky is up on pole pace on what will be his final stab at this. What other pace is available from some of these runners? It's not ideal with a queue of 3 cars, but maybe a little bit of a tow here. Nick Jones is on a quick first sector here as well in the high-class racing run car, Porsche. But Andrew Bentley is half a second up on his previous provisional pole time in the first sector. And Celia Martin is quicker than that. Now this is going to be quite a moment. Is Celia Martin going to be able to complete this lap at pole-setting pace? Is that Aston Martin ahead of her going to be a problem, or is it going to be an advantage? Is there going to be a tow available? 4 cars now through sector 1, quicker than the pole-setting pace as it stands right now.
So Claude Beauvais will be aware that there's a quick car behind. Probably the team are able to communicate that to Claude, but doesn't necessarily have to make way down in towards Pouon, and this is maybe going to compromise Celia Martin. It certainly is, because she wants to get the power on but can't because there's an Aston Martin in her way. But 3 cars occupying the top 3 positions as things stand, all improving on this lap.
Yeah, this is not good news for the Lamborghini driver. Checker flag is out, and then the first car to cross the line will be the number 51 car, currently sitting second quickest and up on pole time after 2 sectors. Can they grab that car? That's the 12 car pitting. Kurzajewski does not improve, so still Andrew Bentley sits atop the times, and I think that has ruined the pole lap, or the potential pole lap. It has. It's cost a half a second in the middle sector, and she's right off the throttle now. So is there going to be any improvement? I don't think there is, Johnny. I think this has gone the way of Andrew Bentley. He crosses the line. No improvement for him.
He backed off massively in the end, and may even be heading, well, he will be heading to the pit lane now. As soon as they cross the line, they will go through La Source and then immediately right to pit road. What happened to Toledo? No, this was what happened to Celia Martin, in fact, and that didn't help either. No. Just dropping the rear left tyre into the gravel trap.
It's a pole position for Stella Motorsport, and their Audi number 24, Andrew Bentley, putting in a fine lap. And you could easily have said that interruption didn't help him, but nobody in that chasing pack. And deep into that final lap, Johnny, we had 4 cars, including Andrew Bentley's car, that were well up on pole pace, but they couldn't convert that in the final sector into a pole-claiming lap. Andrew Bentley, with a time set before we got that very brief red flag interruption, will be on pole position. It is Audi, Stella Motorsport and Andrew Bentley that set pole at Spa-Francorchamps.
Terrific effort despite the pressure from all around, including from the championship leader Matt Kurzajewski. But he just ran out of opportunity. Maybe had there not been a red flag, then he could have worked his way into a better position. But at least he starts on the front row, although, yes, we have an even number of LMP3s, so it will be a solid front row of GT3 cars, and an Audi on driver's right in that pole spot. But the Ferrari that we know is good across the hour and 50 minutes, particularly when Alessandro Balzan takes over for the second stint. So they can still do a lot of damage as far as getting closer to sealing that championship with this 26-point lead they already have. And we're also hearing about Andrew Gilbert. Well, I knew that laps 6 and 7 were under investigation. Actually, no further action regarding that. 2:19.450 sees Andrew Bentley on pole position by just under 0.2 of a second from Matt Kurzajewski in the AF Corsa Ferrari number 51. Then the Iron Dames Lamborghini of Celia Martin. Andrew Gilbert in the orange and black Kessel Racing Ferrari, 4th fastest, number 74. Then another Ferrari 296 of Custodio Toledo in the 88 car. Scott Noble for Herbert Motorsport, their Porsche number 92, 6th fastest. Then Claude Bouvet and Nick Jones for Aston and Porsche respectively. Jörg Dreishoff and Fred Jose complete the top 10 of the grid.
I don't recall Stella Motorsport having, they've won a race, but I don't recall them having a pole position in this Michelin Le Mans Cup campaign now 2 years in. Prepared to be wrong on that front.
I am struggling to remember that as well, so I believe that's a first. I was thinking it was a first when Andrew was able to complete that, so that's certainly the first job on the checklist done.
Well, that's going to be an interesting race now with Andrew Bentley clearly on rapid form, and James Walker, watching his form on his return, is very good as well, and good round here in particular. So could there be something of a surprise turn up for the Bucks here? Meantime, it's a bit more crowded in pit lane, and the engine notes are somewhat different from LMGT3. It's LMP3, 5-litre Nissan V8 power, and 28 of them.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. LMP3 qualifying session has started.
Here we go then. The silence briefly here at Spa-Francorchamps is now going to be utterly broken with this 15-minute session. I think it was saying it was 12 earlier on for the GT3s, but each category gets the same amount, slightly extended because of the longer track here.
Correct.
At Spa-Francorchamps.
3 Duquesnes, 25 Ligiers, wide variety of teams involved in this. Take you down as many of the drivers as we can on this outlap. It is the number 2 car from CD Sports, Shaheen Sarkisian, Eric Dodonka aboard the ANS Motorsport number 6, number 7 from Nielsen Racing, Tony Wells. Christophe Lapierre for Racing Spirit of Le Mans in the 10 car. CD Sports and their 2nd car, that's the number 11 car for Christian Short. Romano Ricci in M Racing's 13. All of these are Ligiers, by the way. Jens Reiner Moller in High Class Racing's 20. Breton Racing, the 26 car, Jamie Falvey. It's a story about Jamie and 2 other racers to tell you a little later. P4 Racing in their 27 car, Andrew Ferguson. Terence Woodward, good to see him back. MV2S Racing, I hadn't spotted that on the entry. Long-time racer, of course, with 360 Racing. Team no longer with us, I'm afraid. Jacek Zielanka in the other MV2S car, the 29 car. Alexander Bekantsov in the 34 Inter-Europol competition. All Ligiers so far. Then we get to the first of the 3 Duquesnes. That is Josh Cahill stepping in for the absent Sylvain Guintoli for Stella Motorsports 42. Back to Ligier land, Tim Kresic for Inter-Europol in the 43, 44. Team Virage, Georgios Kolovas from Greece. Urs Filbermeyer with Ryder Engineering's number 50 car. GG Classics 58 with George Nakas. Oscar Bitter not left pit lane yet in the 59 Team Virage car. 62 from Breton Racing, Ben Stone. Steve Parrow for Rinaldi in the 66 car. That's the 2nd. That's right, that's still a Ligier. The 2nd of the Duquesnes is the 67 Hegeli by T2 Racing car, Peter de Curtens. Stefan Aust, Rinaldi's 71, 77 Team Tour, Auden Gudmundsson, and Julien Leroy, the ANS Motorsport number 84 car. They're all Ligiers. Final Ligier is one to watch, Fabien Michal in RSGP's 85 car. Then the 2 Cool Racing cars, 87 and 97, in the hands of James Sweetnam and Adrian Schiller. And then Mark van der Schnell numerically completes the order with the Moore Motorsport number 99. And they're on to the first flying laps.
And the 85 RSGP entry, looking to make it a clean sweep of poles in the longer distance races. Qualifying at Le Mans was kind of a non-event, if you like, or very much up in the air. The first session did happen, but that was curtailed, and then the second qualifying session could not happen. But for the record, the 87 Cool Racing car did manage to get a point for being on pole for the first Road to Le Mans race, but it really is all about the 85, driven by Fabien Michal up until this point. And Michal is another driver on our list who we are looking out for come the race, because that car, or that more to the point, that driver will have to spend much longer in the pit lane than everybody else, but not as long as Jamie Falvey, who's got an extra 50 seconds.
He will. So Jamie Falvey, Fabien Michal and Adrian Schiller have been dealt by the competition committee some pit stop handicaps. That's to do with the pace they're showing against their FI driver grading. You're right, Jamie Falvey, it's 50 seconds. Fabien Michal, I think, is 25, and Adrian Schiller 15 seconds.
18, but you were close.
Okay. And big lock up there for one of the CD Sport cars. Ryder Engineering's 50 car is on pit lane with the rear deck being removed for Urs Filbermeyer.
So yes, those extra times are in addition to the 2 minutes and 40 seconds that everybody will have to do during their mandatory pit stop in today's race.
It's a big handicap.
So it pushes it to 3.5 minutes in the case of Jamie Falvey.
As we're watching these cars getting up to pace, confirmation with thanks Jeff Carter in the media room up in the LMS and Le Mans Cup media nerve centre. It is indeed a debut pole position for Stella Motorsports and indeed for Audi in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Romano Ricci in the number 13 car, and Tim Kresic in a similar sector as in the final one. It runs out of Campus Corner, the old Stavelo, and then all the way to the finish line. So the M Racing car dropping a few places actually, because so many other cars pouring across the line with better times. Briefly, we had a CD Sport 1-2 there. Shahan Sarkisian quicker than Christian Short, but quicker than everybody else is Jens Moller for high-class racing. So the 20 car setting the very early pace. We still have times to come, though.
Apologies. Tim Kresic gets amongst the CD Sport cars. He goes third for the Interpol 43 squad. 2:16.8 is Jens Muller's time. He's the one driver under 2:17 at the moment. Has to be said, though, Johnny, sometimes going quicker early is not the tactic. So it's going to be really interesting to see if that 0.8 of a second gap can be gobbled up. And more to the point, has Jens Reiner Muller now got the tyre underneath him he needs to keep up the attack?
Bearing in mind, it's currently 25 degrees Celsius ambient, 35 on the track surface. So are you better off just easing your way into this, putting a banker lap in full shore, making sure you stay within the track limits as you do that, and then slowly getting quicker, which is the typical shape of these bronze-only sessions anyway. But yes, if you go absolute hammer and tong to start with, then the best of the tyre is used up very, very quickly. And if somebody then gets a good time late on, you have nothing in reserve to offer a response.
Well, first to respond is Otto Gudmundsson. He's gone to the top with a 2:16.4, so 0.4 up on that time from Jens Reiner Muller. And Peter de Kurten's also right up there. He went briefly third quickest, now rolls back to fourth because Oscar Bittar has gone second, 61 thousandths of a second off the Icelandic driver of the Team Tour, who retains for the moment provisional pole. We've got 8 minutes to go in this session.
So Paraguayan driver Oscar Bittar to the fastest position, although Tony Wells, third attempt, goes top now for Nielsen Racing in the number 7 car, and Shahan Sarkisian's not that far away either, a quarter of a second separate those two. Fabian Michel with 2 pole positions already to his name this season in the 85 RAce GP car to the top with a 2:13.938. That's going to be taking more beating, shall we say, as Romano Ricci joins him on the front row. But yes, a 2:13.9 is going to be tough to usurp.
Yeah, 3/4 of a second quicker. This car from RAce GP. A number of teams looking to step up the endurance racing ladder in coming years. Hearing rumours of a wish to move to the LMS in LMP2 next year. It's something they tried, I think, to achieve this year, but there was no way in. Watch this space for all sorts of excitement to come for new cars, new teams in the European Le Mans Series and the Michelin Le Mans Cup for 2025. That rumour mill silly season is very much upon us now. But Fabien Michel, 0.730 of a second ahead. Romano Ricci, Tony Wells third, Shahan Sarkisian fourth, Julien Lemoine, Adrian Chiller, Christophe Lapierre, Mark van der Snel with a good lap there in the More Motorsport car. Otto Gudmundsson and Oscar Bittar your top 10 with 6.5 minutes remaining of the session.
Josh Cahill, definitely somebody to watch in the number 42 Stella Motorsport car. He's done an absolute best through the first sector. Stella already have a pole position today in the GT3s. Is it possible for them to get a double across both categories? He's still got 2 sectors to continue this push throughout, though. And Fabien Michel, as we mentioned, that's a cracking time, a 2:13.938, and he's improved again through the middle sector, which is the tight and technical one. Just before Le Combe is where that starts, and it goes all the way through Bruxelles and Pouhon and Lufania and Stavelot. And if you're quick through there, then you generally produce a very good lap around the whole track.
Indeed. Otto Gudmundsson goes second. He's 0.56.7 now off Fabien Michel, but Tony Wells does better than that, and he closes the gap to 0.414, just enough to fend off the second at the moment, Shahan Sarkisian, who's 4 thousandths of a second slower than the British driver in Nielsen Racing's number 7 car. Trouble for the number 97 car,
which is one of the 2 Cool Racing cars, and he's gone the wrong side of the barrier at the end of the lap. So now a delicate rejoin over that very high sausage curve, danger of getting beached on there, and a spin also for the Stella Motorsport car. So there's an idea of how hard Josh Cahill was pushing. The end of the previous lap got him as high as 7th position, but then he's pushing again to try and improve, and then spun on the exit of La Source. Can rejoin without any contact.
And no, crucially, no red flag.
Yes.
Fabien Michel, by the way, has just eked out a further, I think it's 200ths of a second on his best lap. So it's another lap in the 2:13s. No one else has matched that yet. Tony Wells is closest, but he's now 0.436 of a second back. Here's Josh Cahill. Show you this car with regular driver Senan Fielding.
So the tyres will have taken a beating after that sideways spin. The tyres never like going laterally, and that might well have sunk the temperature on them as well. Fabien Michel's improved once more. 38.5 through the first sector for Michel, who's been the qualification specialist, no doubt, all through the season to this point, and is on course to make it a hat-trick of the bread and butter races, Barcelona, Paul Ricard, and potentially here at Spa as well. He's not a championship leader, though, because RHGP have struggled to do as well in the races as they do in qualifying. Remember, it's Adrian Schiller and David Drew who lead the championship at its halfway point.
Jamie Falvey, by the way, in the Breton Racing car, switching for this race from Team Virage to Breton Racing's 26. He goes fourth. He's another one within half a second. We've got three cars, three drivers between 4 and 5 tenths off Fabien Michel, but they're not looking like they can get much closer than that.
And I'm reminded, of course, that the Drew and Schiller car is the 97. So the fact that they had that spin, or actually went the wrong side of the yellow and red tyre wall at the end of the lap, shows how hard Schiller was pushing. But the mistake could be very costly indeed, because he's way down in 14th position.
It's another improved lap time from Fabien Michel. It's now down to a 2:13.785, so over half a second clear now. That is 3 laps under 2:14. That is not a pace that anybody else has yet managed to match by at least 3.5 tenths. Yellow flags, turn 18-19. It's the 43 car from Inter-Europol competition.
And that is Tim Kresick, who's been going rather well, sharing with Sebastian Grauland of Denmark again this weekend.
That car is not moving, and that could...
Where is it? Again, it's causing a red flag. It's right at the end of the lap, and again has he gone... he's facing the wrong way, so has lost it on the brakes, I think, into the bus stop chicane, or there was some contact in the braking area, and it's turned sharp left. 2.5 minutes, just less than, on the clock.
That's going to be tight for cars to... Session will not resume. It is pole position for RHGP. So what happened here? He braked too hard in avoidance of a slower car coming into... It was still a motorsport car, wasn't it?
Josh
coming
Cahill
into the chicane. Just looking at see any late changes there. Shahan Sarkisian in the CD Sport car didn't improve on that final lap. Others, it's outside the top 10 where the other dramas were actually happening. Car 43 is under investigation for causing a red flag, but that's not going to affect the overall order, Johnny. It's Fabien Michel and RSGP on pole position. Tony Wells and Nielsen Racing will share the front row.
The last to improve, actually after Fabien Michel went even faster for that pole lap, was Christophe Lapierre in the number 10 Racing Spirit of Le Mans car. 15th position for the former championship winners as Racing Spirit of Le Mans, the team of close to Geneva in Switzerland. But yes, Fabien Michel, you take the 2 Road to Le Mans races out of the equation, and he has made it a clean sweep of the more standard rounds of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. And it does seem that he is the class of the field, and that's part of the reason why he's going to have to soak up an extra 25-second penalty or 25-second reference time during the race later on when they serve their pit stop.
On that similar subject, by the way, I was looking for further down the order as to this slightly truncated session, drivers that you could basically say you've got an impact on their potential performance, and 14th place is the 97 Cool Racing car. Adrian Schiller, remember, is carrying one of those pit stop handicaps. They had that spin, or rather the run off track at the bus stop, and they are not in the top 10.
And they lead the championship, to stress that point, so they're going to have to come from quite a way back. Their qualifying, I don't think, has been anything special this year, because they do all of the points winning in the race, and it's about the planning that goes into it beforehand from everyone involved within Cool Racing, but also the sheer speed across an hour and 50-minute race from Adrian Schiller, who generally starts, and from David Drew, who brings the car home. So yes, this lead of this decent lead in the championship for that crew, but that will not have been part of the script. It's a 7.5 point lead that they have over the number 20 high-class racing crew, and that is the Jens Moller and Tommy Foster car. So, third fastest for Shahan Sarkisian, who has often been flirting with the top few positions in qualifying this year. So the Lebanese driver, third fastest for the Spanish outfit. Second quickest for this car, Tony Wells. He'll be mightily pleased with that, to be starting from the front row later on today. Just after 4 o'clock we go racing, but we're on air at 3:45 for all the build-up. But it is Fabien Michel who makes it 3 from 3 in the 1 hour 50-minute qualifying sessions. Barcelona, Le Castellet, and now here at Spa-Francorchamps. Can anybody else break this rhythm of Fabien Michel? And his teammate that does pretty well in the races as well, Adrian David, who is the silver in this combination. So the grid is set, barring any later decisions from the stewards, of course. Top 3 will have to head to scrutineering to check that all is well with their cars. And it's an early finish. Sadly, we didn't quite get to the end of the advertised 15 minutes because of that error on the brakes from Tim Kresick. But better that, actually, that he spun the car and didn't hit the barrier and didn't, crucially, hit the back of Josh Cagle's car into the bus stop.
But what we have got is 28 cars in good order on pit lane, or closing in on pit lane, ahead of this afternoon's 110-minute race. And if you're not familiar with the racing in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, I think dramatic and incident-filled are amongst the things that could be very accurately said about this extraordinary series. It's part of the feeder ladder for ACO rules racing for drivers and teams that are looking to progress up into the Asia Le Mans Series, the European Le Mans Series, and beyond that, for some of the lucky few in the future, to the FI World Endurance Championship and to the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But proving to be very popular indeed, as we close in on the end of the era for these cars. Second generation LMP3 cars. Formula was with us in 2015. These cars from 2020 and about to be replaced by the new 2025 crop. And as Johnny said, just up behind the Breton Racing car, up on the paddock area next to the main grandstand on start-finish row, the opposite the Formula 1 pits. 3 of the 4 brand new cars are here, being presented to the public and to the teams, many for the first time here this afternoon. Been here since yesterday. Lots of testing and development still to go with those cars, but the challenge is to produce cars at the price point that LMP3 operates, which is remarkably accessible for a professional team. These, though, are the times produced by the current crop, Johnny.
2:13.7 for Fabien Michel to take another pole position for 2024 by over half a second from Tony Wells in the Nielsen racing car. Nielsen, former champions in this LMP3 category, with some big championship names, some big title winners over the last few years, also including Racing Spirit of Le Mans and Team Virage, who've been going from strength to strength, although in that one did struggle a bit because Breton Racing and Jamie Falvey, he'll have to take that extra 50 seconds during the race later, qualifying in 4th spot ahead of Alden Gudmundsson for Team Tour and Jens Moller in 6th place. And congratulations again to Stella Motorsport for not only taking their first ever pole position in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, but Audi's first ever pole as well in this particular championship. We're back again for the Michelin Le Mans Cup at 3:45. The race starts just after 4 o'clock. You can join Graham Goodwin and me, Johnny Palmer, for that. Bye for now.